Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is TGIF today, right? We appreciate the Lord for bringing us into this awesome Friday. And so, if you didn't see, today we're talking about business secrets from the Bible. We're actually talking about this book right here by Rabbi Daniel Lapin, right? So it's a new book that I've actually added to my collection, to my library, right? You know what I'm saying? And so I'm actually looking to actually get into and get this book and start reading. And so I was like, you know what? Let me jump on live with the people, you know what I'm saying, and get the reading in. What's going on to you, Malcolm? How are you doing this evening? So it is TGIF. The Sabbath is approaching. It's going to be a blessed Sabbath for me. Hope it is for you guys out there. If you guys haven't experienced the joy of the Sabbath yet, you know, I encourage you to experience the joy of the Sabbath. Okay. But right now, what we're going to do is get into this book, man. The one thing I love as I kind of peruse through is just the fact that all the chapters are actually really short, right? So no chapter I saw at all is over 10 pages, which is actually pretty crazy. And so the book is filled with 40, what it terms secrets, right? 40 different secrets, which are business secrets from the Bible. This first chapter is just 4 pages, actually, right? So it's actually going to be a pretty short read. So again, I want to just thank everybody. If you're watching, right, you know, live, make sure you drop hashtag live. If you're watching this as a replay, hashtag replay. Of course, we're on YouTube and Facebook as well. You can definitely find us over on YouTube at Lionel Mosby Jr. It's just the name. Type that in your search bar. You'll find me, right? It'll be the same picture right there. So you can use that. Make sure you're following over on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel because that's where all of this will live forever. You know, Facebook is not going to live forever, you know, so it's liable to get removed or get deleted. You know what I'm saying? Try to keep my Facebook as clean as possible. But, you know, on YouTube, of course, it will live forever, right? So, so again, I want to thank you all for jumping in. About to get into the book reading. I see Malcolm is watching live. Thank you, sir, for jumping on today. And we're going to get into this book reading. So actually, before I jump into chapter 1, I just wanted to read the last paragraph from the introduction. I don't know if you guys are like introduction people, but I'm like an introduction person. So like I have to read the introduction. I have to read the thanks, right? Like who are you appreciating, right? You know what I'm saying, for putting this book together. Like I need some background information, right? So I normally read that, right? But I'm just read the last paragraph before we jump into the first chapter. And if you guys hear something that you love, something that stands out, drop those fire emojis. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you put in the comments, you know, something that you hear that stands out. And I actually encourage you, man, hey, grab the book. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be looking to read through this book live through the next couple of weeks. And also, and then if you got any book suggestions for other books that we can read that will be fire as well, then, just let me know, right? But this is last paragraph here. It says, in the late 18th century, Scottish philosopher and economist Adam Smith, who was a believing Christian, popularized this understanding of the efficiencies of a specialized market economy. But the Jews had already known this for millennia. Then it says this, right? This is why you will almost never find Jews tinkering with their cars in their driveways on weekend afternoons. In the Jewish neighborhoods of most cities, you'll almost never find Jews mowing their lawns. Why? Because we understand the power of specialization. If I pay my incredibly competent mechanic to maintain my BMW automobile, and if I pay the ambitious youngster down the block to mow my lawn, I thereby purchase valuable hours in which to practice and perfect my own craft or trade. Each of us accomplishes our tasks far more quickly than we could do individually because we have acquired proficiency in our particular task and are able to apply efficiency by not spending hours thin, spreading hours thin. By hiring them, I have more time and attention to devote to becoming better at my own trade. And I will certainly earn more money working in my own specialized trade than I will trying to save a dollar by spending my time tinkering with my car rather than paying a proper mechanic. The difference adds to my wealth. It adds to the mechanic's wealth too. Everyone wins. Yo, I thought that was so fire. So I was like, I have to read that before I even jump into chapter 1. And again, for those who may be coming on now, right? We're reading Business Secrets from the Bible by Rabbi Daniel Lapin, right? He's also the author of Thou Shalt Prosper. It's another best-selling book as well. But we're reading through this, and it has 40 chapters, right? But they're all super short chapters. So the first chapter is only 4 pages, right? So we're gonna get through it super quick. But I mean, even from that short end of the introduction, if you're on, right, what kind of stood out to you from that statement? You know, it's funny because on Wednesday, just this past Wednesday, I went live and we talked about, right, what's the greatest thing that money can buy. We talked about the greatest thing that money can buy, and we actually realized, like, man, the greatest thing money can buy is time, right? Time so that we can protect relationships. And so it's so funny that even in reading this introduction, like, I didn't know this is what it was, right? I didn't know that this was there, but it's just like corroborating, right, what we talked about this past Wednesday, just a couple of days ago, and the fact that time is so important, right? If we can, and then guess what? When he pays his mechanic, right? Not only does his wealth increase because he has more time to be more efficient at his specialized trade, then guess what? The mechanic is able to also build wealth too. And so everybody wins. I thought that was super dope. So let's get into chapter 1. Again, like I said, it's only 4 pages, like super short. Secret number 1 is God wants each of us to be obsessively preoccupied with the needs and desires of his other children. It says, as long as we all grow our own wheat and corn and stitch our own clothes and churn our own butter and make our own shoes, we need nobody else. We aren't even thinking of anyone else. We're only thinking of how to find enough time in the day to grow vegetables, feed the goats, shear the sheep, and shoe the horses. This is no way to live if you don't have to. And in the modern world, we do not have to. By contrast, when Frederick, Gerald, Harry, and friends all specialize, they are able to focus on how to better serve one another. And in doing so, they will gain more in return. The good Lord incentivizes us to increase our dependency upon each other by offering the blessing of financial abundance for those of us who comply. In other words, we each win more of a living with less effort when we specialize in trade. This process is called business. Interesting. All right. It says, I've already told you what business is, but not what the definition of a business is. This need not to be made more complicated than it is. Some define a business as any organization or individual engaged in commercial, industrial, or professional activities. Others define a business as any organization involved in the trade of goods or services to consumers. While these definitions are not wrong, They are overly precise. The truth is simply that a business is any person or group of people who have customers. If you have someone willing to pay you voluntarily for the work you do, products you produce, or service you provide, then you're in business. Very, very simplistic definition, right? Everyone who works for compensation can be considered in business. If city transit pays you for driving a bus, you're not an employee. You're in business. Admittedly, you're in business with only one customer, city transit, but you're in business nonetheless. If you knit scarves for fun and agree to make a few for your friends in exchange for a few dollars for your time, guess what? You are in the fashion clothing business. The difference between the bus driver and the person who knits scarves in this example is that the bus driver makes more in part because they have specialized. If the person who knits scarves quits her part time retail and food service jobs to focus on growing her business, she too might make more money by specializing. By specializing in a trade rather than doing a little of everything, she can enjoy better efficiency and more disposable income rather than spreading herself thin. If she goes into her own business, she will find that her customers become valuable human beings to her and she will desire to please them. Are you beginning to see why specialization and exchange are the foundations for God's plan for human economic interaction? If you care about your customers as people, if you like, appreciate, and desire to serve them, you will be rewarded. However, if you prefer to spurn others in favor of making yourself utterly independent of all other humans, your life will be considerably less pleasant. There's a reason almost no one still homesteads in the developed world. Thomas Hobbes, the 17th century British political philosopher and author of Leviathan, who was almost certainly a Bible believing Puritan, once wrote that when we are alone, the life of man is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. We all sometimes think we just want to get away from everyone else. We may daydream about some calamity sweeping away everyone in the world except ourselves. We think finally we will be able to get a parking space downtown. There will be no traffic on the freeway. At last, you'll be able to watch television without fighting with your family over who gets the remote. This is silly daydreaming, though. Imagine if it actually happened. What if everyone did disappear? Who would be operating the television station? That remote won't do you much good if there's nothing to broadcast, no news anchors, no TV actors. What good is that parking space downtown if there's nowhere to work? And with nobody operating gas stations or oil refineries, parking would be the least of your problems. Good luck trying to capture a wild horse or donkey once you have used up all the gas in your tank. Time for dinner? Feel like a restaurant meal? Out of luck. No cooks, no wait staff. In the grocery stores, food is rotting on the shelves. At home, your heat and electricity have gone out because no one is running the utility company. The truth is that without other people, your life becomes even worse than that of the most impoverished third world subsistence level peasants. At least they have another one to depend on. The Jewish people have always known the power of specialization. But where did they learn it? From the Bible, of course. Jews have always understood specialization as it is described in both Genesis and Deuteronomy. In chapter 49 of Genesis, verses 1 to 28, the elderly Jacob blesses his 12 sons. He could simply have gathered them and said these few words: I am about to be gathered to my people. I bless you all with everything good. May God take care of you always, and please bury me in the cave of Machpelah, which my grandfather Abraham prepared. Goodbye. But that's not what happened. Instead, there are 28 verses to record the distinct and separate blessings that he gave to each son. Similarly, in Deuteronomy 33, before ascending the mountain to be shown the land of Israel before his death, Moses spent 29 verses blessing the individual tribes. Again, he could easily have issued one comprehensive blessing to the entire children of Israel and promptly taken his leave. The idea behind both Jacob's blessing and that of Moses was unity with diversity. Each tribe was to have its own unique niche in the rich tapestry of the durable nation. Each tribe was to have its own specialty and to become dependent upon their brethren for everything else. If one thinks about it, isn't this what all parents would like to ensure for their children? Some way of guaranteeing that they would all have remained united, each as concerned with the welfare of his siblings as with his own. The same is true for our Father in heaven. In desiring to unify his children, he created a world that rewarded those who specialized in some area of creative work and then traded their efforts for everything else. Compare the outlook of the solitary survivalist with that of the business professional. The former views of other people as competitors and threats. But by contrast, the business professional's life is intricately linked to many other people. He has to be concerned with providing goods or services at sufficient quality and at an attractive price in order to attract and serve his customers. He has to be concerned with his employees and associates because only if they are happy and fulfilled will his enterprise prosper. Finally, he needs to be concerned with his vendors who supply him with the raw material of his production because without them, he is incapable of operating. Now, whom do you think God prefers? The lonesome isolationist whose slogan is, I need nobody, or the business professional active within a complex matrix of connectivity in which he is preoccupied with making life better for so many of God's other children? So that is the end of chapter 1, right? Uh, what do you guys thoughts out there? If you're watching this, if you're watching this with us live right now, what are some of your thoughts? You can leave them in the comments from that first chapter. Again, for those who may have jumped on, what we're doing is reading through this book called Business Secrets from the Bible by Rabbi Daniel Lapin. And so we're taking one chapter at a time. Each chapter is not longer than 10 pages. That first chapter was just 4 pages, actually. And really is really like 3 pages when you look at the words and how it's lined up, to be honest, right? But the secret, right, number one that it says was God wants each of us to be obsessively preoccupied with the needs and desires of his other children. The needs and desires of his other children. Again, if you're watching this live or you're watching a replay, you can put in the comments, right, what you thought, what stood out, what was something that you heard that may kind of even change your thought process on some things. I thought it was really interesting of how he used the example of Jacob in Genesis chapter 29. He used the example of Jacob when he caused his 12 sons to bless them. And he said that, hey, did he give them the same one blessing? Did he just bless them like as a collective? No, he actually gave specified blessings to each son. And then we see that same thing done in Deuteronomy chapter 33 when he talked about Moses calling the 12 tribes of Israel and actually laying out specific blessings for each of the tribes. And he used the term unity in diversity and gave the analogy of this lonesome individual who was seeking to do everything by themselves, right? Like, I don't need nobody else. Or this businessman, for example, who had a need, right, to do good and to make sure that all these people around him were happy and were satisfied, right? The vendors needed to be happy and satisfied because guess what? They provide the materials that I use to turn into my product, right? I got to make sure my employees, right, those who are working with me are good because the more happy they are, the better service that they would render as well, right? And then, of course, the customers, those that I provide this product to, I want to make sure that they enjoy the product itself, right? That is something that actually meets and addresses their needs and their desires. So that mindset of looking and saying, okay, I'm preoccupied with making sure those around me, those that I am dealing with, right, if I'm in business and I see myself in business, then guess what? I have to make sure that everybody that I'm connected with, that they're good. And so is not putting it on me, right? And on just simply my needs, my desires, but I should be occupied, right? Preoccupied, obsessively preoccupied, as it says right in the title of the chapter, with others' needs, right? And with other desires, right? So I thought that was really fire. I thought that was really cool to see. And he kind of contrasted and made the statement about homesteading in the first on that first page as well, about how difficult that is, and um how that mindset leads us to isolation, essentially, right? Versus having the mindset of business, right? And of connecting with others in business. We have to be connected with other people. And then the last thing I say is I like how he at the beginning he also showed that everybody is in business, even if, because we only think of people as entrepreneurs, in our mindset of self-employed, right? They got their own LLC, they got their DBA, the business account set up, right? Like they are not working and getting the W-2 type of thing, right? We have that as the mindset of, okay, you're in business, right? Because you have those things set up. If you don't have those things set up, you're not in business. But he looks at it completely differently and says, okay, well, no, every single person that is providing a service or a product, whether it's big or small, right, is in business. So the bus driver who works for city transit is in business. He's trading, right, his skill of driving, right, to just one company, city transit, right, to one customer, I should say, right, one customer, which is city transit, and he's being paid a certain amount for that service that he's providing, right, that skill set that he has. Same thing with the person that he mentioned who was making I think they was sewing clothes or scarves or something, right? That, hey, she's making it for her friends, and for her time, they've given her a certain amount of dollars, right, for the scarf. Well, she's in business. She's providing a service and a product to individuals, right? And they're rendering funds for that service. So she's also in business. So it kind of it kind of makes you think completely different and say, like, okay, we're all in business, we're all in business from that mindset some way, somehow. And so are we maximizing then our businesses? Are we maximizing the time that we spending? So that was, like I said, chapter 1. I'm hoping to be able to go through and read through this book with you guys. Hopefully you guys can get the book, again, Business Secrets from the Bible by Daniel Lapin. It is not long chapters at all. And hopefully, we can have y'all jump on. I can share the link if anybody wants to jump on and read live and join me in the reading. Then you definitely can do that. Make sure that you're following me over at Lionel Mosby Jr. That's the YouTube channel. You can go over and subscribe. Find all of the replays there for the book reading and for all the other things that we're doing throughout the week. Of course, we talk about Bible business principles. We talk about real estate. We vlogging and more. So, you can find all that over there as well. I also want to remind you guys that we do have the Lion and the Lambo podcast. We are streaming on all streaming platforms, not just major streaming platforms, but like everywhere, right? So people on Overcast or Stitcher or TuneIn, like we're there too as well, right? But of course, we're on Apple and Spotify and Google, Amazon Music. And we're also on YouTube as well. You can find us at Lion and the Lambo if you want to catch that visual experience. We talk about biblical entrepreneurship, impact, and true success. And so we interview other biblical entrepreneurs and talk to them about their business, about how they've grown their business, and the lessons they've learned along that journey as well. So you also can follow us there. So if you are watching this, whenever you are, you watched through and heard the reading, make sure you drop in the comments. Let us know, man, what stood out. What stood out to you? How this blessed you. Again, if you guys are interested in reading along with me, you want to jump on, let me know, man. Grab the book, get the book. You know what I mean? Hit me up. I send you the link so you guys can come jump on as we read the book live, and we can discuss and have the conversation. And prayerfully, we can keep this going into the future, read some other books together as well. So that way, man, we can start really building that library up, man, because reading is fundamental, right? And the more and more I get into different spaces, the more I realize, like, man, people out here like putting their nose in the book, and this is how they're getting a lot of information. This is another hack or secret of having different mentors, right? It's like, man, if you could sit down with this rabbi for a couple hours and just get some game for him about business, right, especially from the scriptures, you'll be game, right, if you really knew who he was and what he was done, people he worked with, right? But we have the ability to do that by also getting the book. We're able to sit down and have that conversation with him as well. So again, thank you guys for jumping on. I really appreciate you supporting. Again, follow me over at Lionel Mosby Jr. on YouTube, and follow Lionel and Lambo podcast. And until next time, see you later.